Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast live stream. It is Monday. It is a new work week, and I apologize coming to you a little later today. Had a busy day of filming here at the studio, but some good stuff, no doubt. And in case you haven't noticed, there's a lot to talk about in the world today, in particular in the world's most volatile and chaotic, strategic and prophetic region. That would be the Middle East. And look, Iran, obviously, a power player in the region, certainly weakened severely, not the superpower they thought they could be prior to that 12-day war in which Israel completely decimated the Iranian regime's military capabilities, but another power player, but Iran's still a power player, down but not out. Another power player in which Iran has invested a lot of time and money and relations is Russia. You could say that both are kind of wounded, right now. I mean, Russia's struggling in Ukraine, with the upper hand, no doubt. I understand that, but still, it has not been a cakewalk. Let's just say that as the war stretches on, it's 3.5 years now. That's not what Vladimir Putin thought going into Ukraine. And oh yeah, now President Trump has lost patience with Putin and is going to supply through NATO, going to enable Ukraine to be supplied with Patriot missiles and some other more advanced weaponry that it needs to defend itself against Putin's onslaught. So look, Russia and Iran, two wounded tigers, I guess you could say, and they both have their respective struggles. Iran, obviously, in the Middle East, its ring of fire has collapsed. I mean, Israel not only took it to the Iranian regime itself during the 12-day war, and really before that, going back months and months, but Hezbollah, Hamas, they're all in shambles right now. They're a shell of their former selves. All that time, money, treasure, and blood that the Iranian regime spent in building up this ring of fire, those terror proxies that surround Israel, it's all out the window now. It's been revealed, it's been exposed, I should say, as a flimsy strategy at the end of the day. It seemed like a great strategy, right? Iran surrounds Israel on all sides, and Israel is the size of the state of New Jersey. It's tiny. Iran surrounds the world's one and only Jewish state in Gaza, in Judea and Samaria, in Lebanon, further south in Yemen, Syria, of course, Iraq, with proxies on each side, armed to the teeth, rockets, missiles, drones, etc. And they all act at once and they wipe Israel off the map. That was the plan, at least. God had other plans. But at the end of the day, Iran saw the limitations of that ring of fire strategy, right? Because the ring of fire is now a smoldering heap of ruins. So what does Iran do next? They're reassessing, they're recalibrating, and they're saying, okay, the ring of fire, hey, we made some strides and we caused a lot of headaches for Israel, and obviously October 7th being much more than a headache. That happened through the ring of fire strategy, Hamas armed and trained, etc., by Iran. Although Hamas acted too soon. That was supposed to be a joint effort, the October 7th invasion, from all sides, with Iran calling the shots. Hezbollah invades, others invade. I mean, I would say that Israel is thanking God that that didn't happen, because Yahya Sinwar, the not so dearly departed Hamas terror master, he acted too soon. Thank you, Lord, because October 7th, as horrific, evil, terrible as it was, it could have been a magnitude 1,000,000 times worse if Hezbollah invaded and other foot soldiers invaded. That it didn't happen. It was a nightmare scenario that did not happen. I hope it never does, thank God. But here's what we're left with. And we know an invasion, attempted invasion, by the way, of Israel will happen. Read Ezekiel, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. Iran had to recalibrate. What is, for Iran, stable, reliable? The ring of fire ultimately was unreliable. It's been smashed. Thank you, IDF. But what's reliable? If you're Iran and you're not weak, you're not strong enough to stand on your own 2 feet. You needed proxies. You need allies. You can't accomplish your goals without allies if you're Iran. Where do you go? You go to nation states. Which nation states in particular do you go to? Nation states that are stable. How do nation states become stable? Through having nuclear weapons. It's the ultimate deterrent. Now, regimes in those nation states may not be stable, but the nation state itself has staying power because it's a nuclear power. There's never going to be a time where Russia, China, and North Korea, which are Iran's allies, charter members of what I call the Gathering Storm Coalition, Iran, China, Russia, North Korea, the Gathering Storm against the West, Israel, and the free world. There will never be a time when Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, or I'm sorry, Russia, China, and North Korea, I should say, the three nuclear powers in that alliance, are completely irrelevant on the world stage. Oh, they could be weakened. They could be economically downtrodden, have internal division, just be a total mess internally. If you're North Korea, my gosh, the Hermit Kingdom as it's known. I mean, but at the end of the day, those three nations, China, Russia, North Korea, are not completely inconsequential, despite all their problems and their various weaknesses. They're not inconsequential at the end of the day because they are nuclear powers, because they have the capacity to destroy a good chunk of the known world, a good chunk of the world through their nuclear capacity. So when someone like that talks, you got to listen, you got to take them seriously, no matter how messed up they are internally. And Russia, China, and North Korea all have big internal problems, but they also have big arsenals of nuclear weapons. So they can't be dismissed out of hand. Iran gets that. Iran's leaders get that. So all of a sudden, they're looking at that Gathering Storm Coalition, and they're saying, we're going to get closer to you guys because you've got staying power. We need reliable nation states, not just proxies, terror proxies. We need nation states. I bring you massive naval drills being held today, Iran and Russia alongside each other, in what is really, I have to see this as a challenge to the United States, because obviously President Trump just carried out or ordered that B-2 bomber strike carried out a few weeks ago against Iran's nuclear facilities. And President Trump, as I said at the top, also is threatening Russia now with major consequences. Now, I think he gave Russia a 50-day deadline to get serious about a ceasefire with Ukraine. Trump is a man of keeping his word when it comes to deadlines, because he gave Iran 60 days to come to the table and get serious about a nuclear deal, and they didn't do it. And on day 61, Israel unleashed hell and launched the 12-day war with Trump's blessing. And then Trump got involved a few days later. So Iran and Russia are feeling the heat. Trump is the real deal. He's strong, he's bold, he's got leverage, and he's not afraid to use it. He truly believes in peace through strength. So, by extension, does Bibi Netanyahu in Israel. So, Iran and Russia, this is no surprise, both wounded tigers are banding together more closely. I want to tell you about these naval drills in the Caspian Sea, why it matters, and what it means coming up. Also, I've got an update. Israel and the Houthis, we talk about that ring of fire collapsing, right? And all the proxies being destroyed. Well, the Houthis are kind of the last man standing in Iran's ring of fire. They continue to launch attacks, ballistic missiles, drones, attacking shipping in the Red Sea. Israel is committed to destroying the Houthis. You might say, well, how do you know? Because I was in D.C. about a week and a half ago, and I shared this here on the live stream and had a briefing from a senior Israeli official who's very close to the prime minister. And this official said, we will destroy the Houthis. It's a tall order in a lot of respects, but we'll discuss that and what's going on there. Hey, I mentioned that was a week and a half ago, and I talked about in a live stream. You may have missed it. Here's the good news. If you miss any of our live streams, any of the videos we post here on the channel, you can just watch in our archives. They're all posted here under videos, under newscasts, live streams, etc. It's all there. And the best way to never miss a video and get all the content is to simply subscribe. It's absolutely free to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. And when you do that, you're joining close to 1.1 million watchmen and women on the wall for such a time as this that we've got here on the channel. You can also become a premium member. Just click join. That's separate from subscribe. Click join, and you can become a premium member as well. But we don't want you to miss any of our videos here, folks, because in case you haven't noticed, it's a pretty fast-changing, chaotic world in particular in the Middle East, and things are happening on a rapid basis. So we're coming to you when the news cycle really picks up. Think of the 12-day war. We're coming to you every single day, including on the weekends and multiple times per day sometimes. So you want to keep it right here as your one-stop shop for everything happening, in particular in Israel and the Middle East, but really all over the world. And we do it from an unapologetically biblical perspective. Imagine that. So number one, be sure to subscribe. Number two, we've got some great partners here on this channel. Only a few, though, a select few, because I only partner with organizations that do two things. Number one, they bless Israel. And number two, I believe they're doing God's work. That's it. That's the requirements. Magen David Adom, our partner for today's live stream, fulfills both requirements and then some. You've heard me talk about them. Magen David Adom, if this is the first time you've heard, you should know, is Israel's emergency services system. They are Israel's first responders. They respond to every terror attack in Israel. And in a time when Israel is waging a war on 7 fronts, there's been a lot of terror, sadly. Iranian ballistic missiles are dropping, destroying apartment buildings, residential areas. Magen David Adom first responders are the first ones on the ground. Even if there's a car accident, anything, Magen David Adom is there. Look, these paramedics, EMTs, first responders from Magen David Adom, 90% of them are volunteers. They're not getting paid for this. They're doing it because they want to do God's work. It's SaveLivesIsrael.com. SaveLivesIsrael.com to support their work and to bless Israel. They dispatch every ambulance in Israel, and they receive thousands of emergency calls each day. Can you imagine? Every ambulance. And I'm in Israel frequently. The Magen David Adom ambulances are everywhere. They also collect, process, and distribute Israel's blood supply for the entire nation, civilians and the Israel Defense Forces alike. Look, they're putting their lives on the line again, and they're not getting paid for it. That's why they need your support. SaveLivesIsrael.com. Over 30 Magen David Adom volunteers have been killed in the line of duty since October 7th. Some 17 ambulances destroyed. Right now, they need ambulances. They need bandages. They need medical supplies and so much more. They're stretched thin. Again, a war on 7 fronts. It's been going on for 1 year and 9 months now. Israel is looking for a few good men and women to step up and to help and to fulfill that biblical mandate laid out in Genesis 12:3, to bless Israel. SaveLivesIsrael.com. Magen David Adom is a great way to do it. Check them out. Okay, these naval drills between Iran and Russia. We talk about fronts, front after front. Here's a front in the Caspian Sea. Okay. Newsweek laying it out. Iran and Russia, I'm just reading this straight off my phone, have launched a joint naval drill in the Caspian Sea. And they are meant, these naval drills between Iran and Russia, to send a message to the United States weeks after it joined Israel in attacking Iran's nuclear sites. And as, again, Trump threatens Russia and Russia struggles in Ukraine. Although they're upping their attacks in Ukraine, they still haven't been able to win the thing, right? Iran has sought to bolster its military capabilities following the 12-day conflict with Israel, during which the U.S. launched strikes on key nuclear sites. Stalled diplomacy, meaning Iran doesn't want to play ball, still has increased the risks for a renewed conflict. And we've been reporting here that Israel could very well hit Iran again as they try to rearm. And Tehran has sought backing from Russia and China, surprise, surprise, to counter U.S. military and economic pressure. Like I said, they're not seeking support from Hezbollah and Hamas. They're seeking support from Russia and China. Staying power, nation states, nuclear powers. Look, they want to rearm Hamas and Hezbollah. Don't get it twisted. But right now, they're a shambles, and they're just terror groups. They're non-state actors. Russia, China, and North Korea, Turkey eventually, I believe Iran will cleave closer together as well. That's the smart bet for the Ayatollahs. Now, this joint maritime rescue and security drill is codenamed Airstrikes 2025, and it includes the participation of the Iranian Navy, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps Navy, the Law Enforcement Command of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the Navy of the Russian Federation. That's according to Iranian media. And we have photos of Russian naval vessels entering the Caspian Sea to join the exercise, which is being hosted by Iran's Navy. Now, Iran's foreign minister just met with Russian and Chinese officials last week, where he called for united opposition to the United States and deeper strategic cooperation. Remember, earlier this year, Iran and Russia deepened ties. They just signed a defense pact, joint drills like we see today in the Caspian Sea, tech sharing, etc. China also, look, there's been rumblings China will provide Iran with advanced weaponry, and that makes a lot of sense because, yes, Iran and Russia have this deal, but Iran and China inked a 25-year cooperation agreement. I believe it was 25 years. That was back in 2021, I think, or 2022, where it's real simple. The Iranian regime supplies China with cheap oil and gas, and you know China needs that, and China supplies Iran with advanced weaponry. It ain't brain surgery. It makes a lot of sense for both sides in a sinister way. So the Ayatollahs are looking to Russia and China. And here is some of the slogans that are coming out of Iran in terms of this drill today, this naval drill. The event will be held under the slogan, "Together for a safe and secure Caspian Sea." The primary goal, says Iran, is to reinforce maritime safety and security while fostering greater cooperation among the naval forces of these countries. It all sounds so benign. Iran and Russia, two of the world's worst actors, are holding joint naval drills in the Caspian Sea. And look, don't worry, it's just to reinforce maritime safety. This sounds like something the U.S. Coast Guard would do off the coast of Ocean City, New Jersey. One of my favorite places in the world, by the way. And this exercise, okay, lasts for 3 days. It kicked off today, it lasts for 3 days. What do you make of this? To me, a few things. Clear warning signal that Iran did not get the memo. And I'm just pulling up some more info here right now. There we go. Because I want to tell you about the Houthis as well. Iran did not get the memo because they continue to do what they do. And that is, there we go, got the article here. I'm going to lay it out for you in a minute. That is to cause mayhem. And look, they're not backing down. They're making threats. Today, the foreign minister of Iran was interviewed on Fox News and said, no, we're not going to give up our uranium enrichment program. Oh, okay. So they're digging in their heels. This was the rhetoric and the posture that they had before the 12-day war. And that's why Israel and the U.S. ultimately had to strike. They're not changing their tune at all. They're doubling down. We're going to rebuild our nuclear sites. We're not going to abandon uranium enrichment. We're going to rearm our proxies, and we're going to get even closer to Russia and China and hide behind them, basically. Now, you can see how the Ezekiel invasion is going to play out here. It's not hard to see. And Iran, it seems, will be a weakened partner in that invasion force, in that Turkey and Russia, I believe, will lead the way. Russia, for obvious reasons, nuclear power. Turkey, NATO member nation, second largest military in NATO. Iran's been weakened. Folks, listen, they're claiming that their air defenses have been restored already. I highly doubt it. It wasn't that long, okay? It wasn't that long ago that Israel, try a few weeks, that Israel decimated not only Iran's air defenses, but Iraq and Syria. Iran may have tried to rely on their air defenses as well, and they're non-existent too. So they can bluster about their air defenses being restored, but come on, let's get serious. In terms of their uranium enrichment, Israel's got a bead on them and incredible intelligence on the ground in Iran. The moment they try to do something or there's movement, trucks moving, Israel's going to strike. There's going to be zero tolerance for that. Air defense is destroyed, as I mentioned. Ballistic nuclear program destroyed for all intents and purposes. Ballistic missile program, massive damage done to that. Proxy ring of fire destroyed. They're in a weakened state. Yet they're acting, the Ayatollahs, like they have all the leverage, that they have, no pun intended, the trump card. And they really don't. And it's funny because this bluster and this projection of so-called strength from them has gone on for years, and the West would always buy it. The West would back down and say, oh my gosh, Iran is a formidable, fearsome foe. Let's give them whatever they want. We don't want to mess with Iran. They've been exposed. I said they're a wounded tiger, a paper tiger. They've been exposed as over the past year and a half. Completely. Yet they're puffing their chest out right now and acting tough and talking tough and saying we won't back down. I mean, on one hand, evil is completely relentless. So this is not surprising. When you have demonic levels of evil, this is what they do. I mean, if they're not causing mayhem, murdering, butchering, terror, all the rest, war, then what are they? This is what demons do. So don't be surprised that the demonic activity continues until you absolutely crush it decisively. And in that Ezekiel war, that will happen. The Bible's very clear. If you haven't heard about it, it's called the War of Gog and Magog. I don't want to lose you here. I know it sounds crazy. Gog, May, what? Yes. Read the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39. And it lays out a confederation of nations that come, mostly Islamic, that come against Israel in, quote, the latter days of history. I believe Russia will be part of that alliance. People go back and forth. Turkey and Iran certainly will. And they're named by their ancient biblical names in the book of Ezekiel. Iran is called Persia. Turkey is called Gomer, Beth Tagorma. Crazy names, I know, but this is written 2,500 years ago by the prophet Ezekiel. Meshach, Tubal, Gog, referring to Russia, Moscow. So that day will come, but it won't end very well for that invasion force. And I'll just leave it there. That's your tease. I don't want to give you a spoiler. I'll give you a tease because I want you to go and read it for yourself, the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38 and 39, or reread it. I think these October 7th wars, Israel fighting on 7 fronts, as I mentioned, is laying the groundwork for some larger prophetic events to come. I think that war of Gog and Magog is certainly one of them. But interesting, the flex, we can call it, right, of Iran and Russia today and really all this week. It was interesting also that Russia did not come to it, nor did China during the 12-day war. Russia and China stood back. And I think Iran expected more out of Russia in particular because they've gotten so close in the past 4 years or so. But I think that relationship will continue to grow. It's a marriage of convenience, obviously, but they want to have a united front against the West. They can't withstand Trump on their own. I think they're learning that. He's a force of nature in an incredible way. Peace through strength is back. And again, he's got all the leverage in the world and he's not afraid to use it. China, Russia, and Iran are scrambling, saying, this is why they wanted Trump to lose. This is why Iran wanted to assassinate Trump before the election, even after the election. Now they're threatening him every day. We've been documenting this here on the live stream. Trump is a force of nature, and he puts tyrants in their place. So they're feeling a little bit besieged, and they've lost their way a bit here, and they're scrambling. Trump has them scrambling. So it's not surprising that these entities, and that's being charitable using that word, will come closer together and unite and try and have a united front. Speaking of those entities, what about the Houthis in Yemen? Now, quick update there. Israel struck today again at the Hodeida port, which is the main port in Yemen, right on the Red Sea. And it's used for arms shipments from Iran. We know this. That's why Israel has bombed it multiple times. Now, again, massive airstrikes today on that Hodeida port. Now, I mentioned that meeting in D.C. I had about a week and a half ago, senior Israeli official. And this official said, we will destroy the Houthis. And that goes back to the conversation we've had here a bunch. Look, Yemen is a vast, mountainous, rugged, desert-type terrain with plenty of places to hide. There's probably places in Yemen that no man has ever set foot, perhaps. It's that remote in some areas. But there's a lot of caves and hiding places. So the Houthis are rolling out the ballistic missiles, firing them. They could literally roll a launcher back into a cave for all we know. What I'm saying is this. There's a lot of hiding places. Airstrikes alone won't do it. And this Israeli official said as much in D.C. during that meeting about a week and a half ago. It's ultimately going to take boots on the ground if you want to destroy the Houthis.